Good afternoon to all, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sustainable Trade Africa event of 2024 at COP29. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. My name is Wangari Mwekia. I am an Africa Fiscal Policy Specialist and MD of Expertise Global, a public finance management firm in Nairobi, Kenya, working across Africa. And it is truly a pleasure to MC this event with you all today. Before we start, those on social media, if you can please tag hashtag STA at 2024 in any of your engagements here, would be truly appreciated. And any questions or feedback or assistance that you may need, please direct them to Janal and her team. Please, any people on the team, please wave. And if you have any questions, they can help you. I'm sure I'm one of the last people to do this today, but welcome to Baku. We are thrilled to have you here today with us today on the sidelines of COP29. This event marks the second edition of the Sustainable Trade Africa, or STA, which was first launched at COP28 in Dubai in the UAE last year. Today, we are proud to continue this important initiative in Azerbaijan, where we will focus on how to take action, exploring innovative strategies and collaborative approaches to drive sustainable trade across the African continent in a way that has a net positive effect on climate for the benefit of all. This year's theme for the STA is aligning trade with climate goals, attracting investment and trade flows to and from Africa. Our discussions today will focus on Africa's vast potential for sustainable, climate-sensitive economic growth, with a particular emphasis on the opportunities created by the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AFCFTA. Drawing from our theme, we will focus on two objectives this session. The first is to promote successful, contextually relevant special economic zone models on the continent to accelerate industrialization, create jobs, and spark more investment and technological advancement on the continent. And two, to attract suitable foreign direct investment while engaging strategic partnerships to support green growth in Africa for the good of all. I would also like to extend our deepest gratitude to the African Export-Import Bank, I'll be referring to them as Afreximbank, whose unwavering support has been instrumental not only to the success of the STA at COP28, but also for their continued commitment here at COP29 and going forward. Afreximbank has been a key advocate for the future of Africa's trade and sustainable development, and their efforts in promoting Africa's green growth and trade infrastructure are invaluable. I would also like to thank our partners in Azerbaijan, the Small and Medium Business Development Agency of Azerbaijan, or KOBIA. Your support has been crucial in having us here today. So this week, in the corridors of power, you have and will rub shoulders with some of the most influential people who can push more action in this sector. Do me a favor. When you meet these people, here or even at home, tell them about the ideas and opportunities you take from this event and integrate them with your own plans and strategies so that we can all take relevant action. Are we together? I hope so. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first guest speaker of the day, a distinguished leader who has played a pivotal role in advancing intra-Africa trade and export development. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Kanayo Awani, the Executive Vice President of Intra-African Trade and Export Development at the Afreximbank, to deliver opening remarks. A round of applause, please. Ms. Awani, congratulations on the tremendous success of the creative African Nexus. We hope that we will learn a lot from Afreximbank. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I always need that. Your Excellency, Mr. Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Secretary at the AFCFTA. He is probably represented because I know he left tonight. Thank you very much. Yesterday night. Mr. Okan Mamadov, the Chairman of the Board, Small and Medium Business Development Agency of Azerbaijan, Mr. Yusuf Abdullayev, Executive Director, Export and Investment Promotion Agency of the Republic, Your Excellency Mohammed Saeed Sultan Al-Nuami, Under Secretary, the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment of the UAE, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for the African Export-Import Bank to be invited to this conversation on climate change and its impact and challenges that pose significant existential threats for lives and livelihoods. I would like to express my profound appreciation to the organizers, our partners, Sustainable Trade Africa, and my dear brother, Mr. Walid, for putting this session together. As the foremost trade finance institution in Africa, Africa's own export credit agency, the theme transforming Africa's trade and climate resilience and sustainable development is aligned to our own vision, our mission and ambitions, and is a topic that is relevant and timely, especially for Africa, a region whose development path is disproportionately impacted by climate change, despite being the lowest contributor to global greenhouse emissions. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, climate change and its impact on lives and livelihoods represent an existential threat. It has contributed to displacing societies, distorting socio-economic order, lowering agricultural productivity, and also contributing to loss of human lives. Africa, as a continent, continues to experience widespread damage attributed to climate change, including prolonged droughts, rising sea levels, floods and erosion, loss of biodiversity, and increased food insecurity. For instance, agricultural productivity in Africa has declined by over 30% since 1961 due to climate change, and that's more than any other region in the world. These statistics should not be lost on us. The 2022 climate change report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change on Impacts, Adaptation, and Vulnerability highlights that most parts of Africa are among the global hotspots of human vulnerability to climate change. As a continent, Africa therefore needs to ensure that climate change and its impacts are considered in development strategies. Among others, this will include integrating climate-resilient development concepts, including around renewable energy and green industrialization, climate and smart agriculture, food and nutrition security, climate change adaptation, climate resilience, and climate finance. It is in this context that African Export-Import Bank sees today's discourse as very critical. As a bank, we welcome this engagement, recognizing that immediate, decisive action is imperative. Ladies and gentlemen, despite climate-related crises becoming increasingly pervasive on our continent, Africa, and the urgency for the continent to build greater resilience, it is disheartening to observe that the global discussions continue to be shaped by those who are most responsible for climate change and not those who are most affected, like our situation in Africa. I think the global discussion needs to be more inclusive, to ensure that all perspectives are given attention in the fight against the global challenge, and due regard is paid to the sustainable development ambitions of Africa that will account for over 30% of the global population by the turn of the century. Ladies and gentlemen, in this regard and beyond the discussions for a just transition and also ensuring equitable access to climate finance, it is also equally important to ensure fair and equitable trade policies that will allow Africa and its development goals, that will support Africa and its development goals while addressing mitigation and adaptation efforts. I do recognize that even though trade and trade policies can exacerbate the climate impact of unsustainable production and consumption patterns, but they are also vital to offsetting climate-induced production shortfalls in regions such as Africa, where climate change is critical and the scaling up of diffusion, development, and uptake of new technologies. In a region with a faster growing population, but one that remains energy poor, remains food insecure, remains susceptible to commodity boom and bust cycles, climate change has underlined the need to build greater resilience to transform economies towards higher value-added production and increasing agricultural productivity to ensure food and nutrition security. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the heart of the sustainable development drive for Africa is our integration ambitions under Agenda 2063, dubbed the Africa We Want, and also the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AFCFTA. The AFCFTA is a bedrock for Africa's sustainable development and needs to embrace development that supports green industrialization. Our quest is for industrialization in Africa. That's our utmost ambition. And we hope to collaborate in building, or partners to collaborate with us in building climate resilient industrial infrastructure, utilizing new and cleaner technologies as we pursue the process of building regional value chains in priority sectors such as cotton and textiles and apparel, secondly, agriculture and agro-processing, thirdly, vaccines and pharmaceutical products, fourthly, automotive vehicle assembly and components, and finally, the digital economy. As a partner, the African Export-Import Bank is actively contributing to the continent's drive towards climate action and green growth initiatives through various projects and collaborations. Some of the interventions I'll mention and collaborations I'll mention briefly. Some of our activities in this space, and maybe it should give you a good insight about how we play in this space. We have a climate adaptation facility for the government of Kenya. The bank is disbursing the first tranche of 800 million Kenya for the $800 million for the Kenya Climate Change Adaptation Facility that will support climate-related projects in Kenya, including water and irrigation. We also have a battery precursor manufacturing initiative in DRC and Zambia, collaborating with these two countries. Afreximbank is spearheading a sustainable battery value chain project, including the development of a transboundary special economic zone aimed at mitigating greenhouse gas emissions and foster economic development in the region and on our continent. We're very big on the development of industrial parks and special economic zones. And together with Arise IIP, our partners, we use new technologies and clean energy to support manufacturing industries in those industrial parks. And by the way, there will be more that will be said by my colleagues later on in the program about some of these initiatives. I'm just keeping it high level for now. We've also been involved in a euro $150 million dual tranche facility, in favor of the government of Cameroon. We're also collaborating with the World Food Programme, the AFCFTA Secretariat, and food security and climate change. This collaboration focuses on strengthening agricultural value chains in Africa, enhancing climate resilience, and promoting trade in food commodities as Africa aspires for food sovereignty. We're also collaborating with our partners, African Union Commission and AUDA NEPAD, on building capacity on carbon markets and the development of gold standards for carbon markets in Africa. Many of you, or some of you, may have heard about our Africa Energy Bank initiative. Afreximbank is proposing the establishment of an Africa Energy Bank, an independent development finance institution to offer specialized financing solutions to the African oil and gas sector, aligning with energy security and sustainable development. We also have a youth and climate program, Africa's Youth and Climate Program. This bank is supporting youth-led startups with a focus on decarbonization and ESG issues through initiatives like Climate Tech Run competition and a $25 million venture capital fund, accessible through the bank's impact equity fund we call Fund for Export Development in Africa, FEDA. We also support Africa's Carbon Market Initiative. We're a steering committee member, and Afreximbank is actively influencing discussions to align with AFCFTA intentions for equity and also exploring the implementation of biodiversity credits on the continent. Some of our important clients on the African continent are also involved in renewable energy, and we're working with some of them like El Swedi of Egypt, who have constructed in South Sudan a solar facility with other projects in Equatorial Guinea, contributing to renewable energy development, economic growth, and environmental benefits. Same with Hassan Alam, where we're also working with them. We worked with them and sponsored the construction of a solar photovoltaic plant in Sharm el-Sheikh. That supported COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. We also have a concessional finance window. The bank intends to support the development of renewable and reliable energy or green energy infrastructure focusing on renewables, through our concessional finance window. We also have a comprehensive guarantee program. And for people who are interested in investing in the African country, it supports not only investment finance, but also guarantees that will deal with issues or perceived risks that people may have investing in Africa, because it will provide country risk mitigation. It also it secures profits and repatriation of profits and normalcy of business operations if you're operating in Africa. We also have a project preparation facility through which we mobilize finance on the continent that brings projects to bankability. Even in the creative sector. I know you mentioned Canex, and it will be odd to bring it into this space, but yes, even in sports, we are supporting with an investment in Formula E1, the novel electric boat racing program for the promotion of environmentally sustainable marine transportation. These initiatives and collaborations, I have just highlighted a few of them, reflect our commitment to environmentally sustainable projects and align with global efforts towards climate action and green growth, as well as continental efforts towards green industrialization for Africa. And as I begin to round up, I want to talk about the Intra-African Trade Fair. And this opportunity, Intra-African Trade Fair is a biennial, every 2 years trade fair that is beyond a fair, that is also multi-sectoral, that we hold in Algiers next year between the Algiers and Algeria between the 4th of September to 10th of September 2025. it is also an opportunity for investment promotion. For people who see, or friends of Africa, who see Africa as a frontier for their investments, and I'm glad as Promo is here too, it's an opportunity to integrate. It is the largest platform on the continent, largest public-private platform for engagement, for business promotion, for B2Bs, B2Gs, G2Gs, as the case may be. And I welcome you all to use this as an opportunity for investment promotion, investment attraction, for opportunities to see, it's an opportunity to also work with African governments and businesses. And maybe we'll send more of the information to my dear brother from Promo. As I already mentioned earlier, there will be more on our programs and facilities. I have a number of my colleagues who are in this room, quite a number who can also, do a deep dive in some of the programs. What I've tried to do this afternoon, is to give a flavor of what Afreximbank does. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, allow me to reemphasize that a highly integrated global economy, in a highly integrated global economy, achieving climate goals would not only require effective domestic policies, but also concerted and inclusive international collaboration. This implies overcoming traditional silos of policymaking to bring climate and trade policy makers together and taking into consideration the reality of the needs of the most vulnerable countries that suffer disproportionately from climate crisis. The voice of Africa, the voice of global Africa, which is Africans wherever they may be, and the global South needs to be heard. And we need to ensure addressing climate challenge is reflective of the needs of these economies and their imperative to pursue sustainable development. Their imperative to pursue development as well. This requires collaboration, this requires partnerships, and ensuring climate financing commitments are fulfilled and deployed in those areas that drive development and support adaptation. At Afreximbank, be rest assured that we stand ready to work with African countries, global partners, and yourselves to ensure a more sustainable future for our continent. Thank you, and God bless you all.